Hello, I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. It's Friday, the 12th of December. Welcome to Weather to Watch. We've got quite a bit of weather going on, from more snow to an Arctic blast that's pretty substantial, to a surge of warmth that at first glance would seem to put the kibosh on a white Christmas for a lot of people. We'll talk more about it. Well, we'll look at the satellite image here this afternoon. Visible satellite. If it doesn't move, it's probably snow. And that would be true for a lot of these areas here. You can see high clouds drifting in across the high plains. These are going to be eventually snow-bearing clouds, certainly already are in Montana, and this is going to be sliding this way, and I'll have a snow update here in a minute. Let's take a look at what's happening at the 500 millibar level. Very active pattern. So we still continue to have basically a ridge of high pressure on the west coast, which is good. It's helping to dry out the Pacific Northwest, which has gotten a lot of rain recently. Very fast flow. The closer these red lines are together, the faster the wind at 500 millibars is blowing. So pretty substantial here, approaching 100 knots, which is about 113 miles an hour, I think, if I'm doing the conversion right. And anyway, and then just a long wave trough here with little short wave disturbances like here. And this is actually a fairly potent little wave right here that's pushing the surge of Arctic air. So at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, this is what the computer model is projecting, and it's pretty accurate. I use this because, first of all, I do think it's pretty accurate, and it puts the fronts on there for me, and also shows the nice little arrows. So this cold air means business, and we'll review that here in a minute. The Dakotas, Minnesota, the first ones to get it this afternoon, but this will continue to spread in this direction. Meanwhile, stationary front. So we basically have warm and then kind of mild seasonal, and then Arctic blast air coming in here, and the west is quiet and fairly mild. Let's take a look at that snow. Like I said, it's already snowing in parts of Montana. Winter storm warning in effect for a good chunk of that state, not necessarily in the highest mountainous areas, by the way. As is usual, that's surrounded by a winter weather advisory, and we have winter weather advisories in a couple different places. This storm is forecast not to be as quite as potent when it moves more southeast into Iowa. Another little stretch right here in parts of Minnesota and North Dakota. Winter storm watch around Cincinnati and just south of Columbus, Ohio. And we also have lake effect snow warnings. You can tell that these are purposely put out because of the banding effect of lake effect snow, and a winter storm warning finally there just south of Pittsburgh and getting into parts of West Virginia. Let's take a broad view of the National Weather Service snow forecast. So this is through Sunday morning. So basically 48 hours into the future. It's clear to see we have a system traversing from Montana into the northeast, and these lake effect snow pockets are very obvious when they hang out in little globs or little kind of cigar-shaped areas. That's a telltale sign that it's lake effect snow. At the longer the lake, the longer that kind of finger pattern that shows up. The shorter the span of lake, like up here in Lake Superior, it tends to be bunched up more closer to the shore like that. But we can take a closer look at some of this stuff here. Montana, half foot of snow in the central part of that state, and then it diminishes through Sunday morning, and we're looking at 3 to 4 inches solidly through Bismarck and down to around Des Moines, Iowa, and then getting off into Illinois. We'll change views here. Illinois will exceed 4 inches of snow, it looks like, through Sunday morning. Peoria, Illinois, it looks like they'll be kind of close to the epicenter of that. And then it gets up to 5, even 6 inches of snow as we get into Indiana, Ohio, and this is why there's a winter storm warning in effect south of Pittsburgh and in parts of West Virginia. I thought it would be interesting to note that so far, snow this season, this starts on the last day of September, and you can clearly see that we locked in on a pattern here. I talked about that a few weeks ago, and it's still locked in for a little while longer. I'll talk about that, and we got a pattern change coming. I was talking about a white Christmas. It's not totally off the table yet, but I gotta tell you, the week before, zero chance of anything happening. Anyway, this is snow for season. We'll zoom in on a little bit. So Chicago at O'Hare has had almost 17 inches of snow so far. We're talking about just about the same, maybe a little bit more around Des Moines, 18, maybe 19 inches. So very, very snowy in these areas. Lake effect snows, you're reading that right. That's 32 inches in South Bend. And I'm not sure. I think that's Kalamazoo, almost 27 inches there. And again, lake effect snow is obvious, 53 inches. Not sure what that city is. And if you see it getting into that kind of orange color, that's 50 maybe to 60 inches of snow that's already fallen in parts of the upper peninsula of Michigan. Well, there's a pattern change coming. So we're talking all about this Arctic air. I'll show you that in a minute. But what I want to show you is the EPS weeklies are out. These were run yesterday. And this starts the 15th. So it starts Monday and goes for 7 days. This is the average 500 millibar flow. Big reversal. We have been showing an abnormally low heights, or in other words, these purple colors are showing up, indicating a troughing of low pressure on the eastern part of the U.S., so it's encouraging cold air to come down. That reverses on average next week, and we have a huge ridge of high pressure, a dome over much of the central U.S. In fact, over much of the U.S., the only places that will experience maybe a little bit of flow off the ocean here and a little bit of troughing would be Oregon and Washington. What effect does that have on temperature? Here's the mean temperature pattern for that same period. So these are 20 plus degrees above normal. In fact, that's pretty toasty for Wyoming. And you can see this spreads across almost the entire U.S. Only New England might be slightly cool, and certainly there's cool air pooling up here in Canada. So yeah, winter is just ready to strike as soon as it's given the opportunity to, but the upper level winds would steer that kind of stuff. Definitely are favorable for warmer, milder conditions on average for next week. And if you look at the snowfall anomaly, it's actually anomalously low for that week. So in other words, these areas in orange expect to see snow, and they're not. And the only areas that are going to get a little bit above normal will be around Wyoming, parts of Montana and Idaho, and through parts of the Cascades. So let's take a look at finally those temperature trends. National Weather Service has issued their forecast for high temperatures on Saturday. High temperatures will be below zero, where you see that darker color of purple. Minneapolis might get to 0 or 1 on Saturday. Chicago will get up into anywhere in the lower to upper teens. The freezing high temperature line goes along I-70 in Missouri and to the Ohio River and Cincinnati, barely getting there. Now let's look at lows on Saturday morning. Very cold. We're looking at temperatures below zero in the dark purple here, with single-digit low temperatures through the northern one-third of Illinois, the rest of Iowa. Very chilly air. The high temperature on Sunday will be in the single digits wherever you see the purple color here. So Chicago only getting to a high of about 10 at O'Hare, and highs only just barely above zero. In fact, not even above zero in Iowa. The snow cover is helping to keep these temperatures a lot colder. And Sunday morning, I kind of reversed those two. I should have done Sunday morning to Sunday afternoon. Anyway, this is Sunday morning's low temperatures, and we're looking at minus 23 degrees, minus 22 degrees up around the Fargo area, and areas just to the east of that into Minnesota. Quite cold. So a cold weather advisory has been posted for all this area, not surprisingly. And at the time of this recording, an extreme cold warning only for this little sliver of Montana and North Dakota. But I'm recording this in the middle part of the afternoon, so I think when they update the advisories, the Weather Service, by later today, this very well could expand. So let's take a look at the high temperatures on Monday, and this is telling because high temperatures, those are at the individual cities. You see here, out here, are again below freezing as far south as Kentucky and much of the northern part of Virginia. But if you see the green and blue, that's a below normal temperature pattern. If you start to see the oranges and the reds and the yellows, that's an above normal temperature pattern. So look what starts to happen as we go to Wednesday. The entire country lights up. So we have very little in the way of below normal temperatures and a lot of warmth. Chicago, after enduring a high of barely into the teens, will be up to 44 by Wednesday. Denver up to 64. Wichita 62 degrees. In Lubbock 78 degrees there. Houston 73. You get the idea. Very warm temperature pattern to look forward to. So if you're wondering about a white Christmas, at least in terms of anything being laid down next week, I don't think so. I did look at the long-range models. There might be a hint that this is going to reverse itself again, but it would have to wait at least another 7 to probably 9 days. In other words, not this weekend, but the next, before things might start to carve out enough cold air to even talk about snow anywhere in the U.S. I will keep you updated on the White Christmas forecast for sure. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.